the mark of a leadership is always about solutions. You might complain 20, 30, 40, 50 times, but what is the solution to take this next step forward?
Hello and welcome to Up Close and Personal Season 2 here at InvokED Studio, where we dive deep into the heart of leadership, collective action and education equity. I'm your host Aishwarya, and today we have with us a leader who has changed the way we look at sustainability in development, Harish Hande.
Hi.
Thank you for coming here.
Thank you very much.
The co-founder of Celco India. He has redefined the way we perceive renewable energy by using it as a means of social justice and empowerment. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you, ma'am.
My first question to you is, what inspired you to start working in the renewable energy sector?
I wouldn't say exactly that. Yes, my background was solar and renewable energy was by the way. I went to an institute where I studied. The IIT is. I got into IIT because 300 million Indians did not write the exam. And then who funds your IIT education is the poor of this country who pay for taxes on salt and sugar. That led to my education. So my actual stakeholders are the poor in many ways, right? So if I'm not able to not give back, but work for something that really removes poverty, and that's when I went back and settled in rural India for many years to relook at what development meant, and then saw that sustainable energy was a critical component of that development, and that's when got into sustainable energy and the linkage between sustainability and poverty.
That's a very interesting way to put it. I've not heard this before, where people say that the poor of the country have funded my education. And I think that gives you a sense of working for an impact. My next question, building on this one, is you've been integrating renewable energy with social impact.
Right.
What are the biggest challenges that you've faced while doing this?
See, today what happens is renewable energy or sustainable energy is actually thought about in silos, right? Silo means, oh, it's expensive, right? And one thing people don't realize that it's renewable energy, you think of the whole package, the production and the consumption. In other fossil fuels or anything else, you don't pay for the capital expenditure like the big plants which are on 35, 40 years of financing. If the same thing that happened for solar or wind, it would be the same cost as any other technology, right? So today what we basically look at, how do you push those buttons and saying that if the poor of this country or any part of the world, what is the end goal for them to get out of poverty? Is better health, better education,
Right.
better livelihoods, right?
Right.
So we shouldn't be talking about the salt. You talk about the dal, you talk about the pasta, you talk about the pizza, right? You don't talk about the salt. So what is the end goal? Better education, better. So we use sustainable energy as an enabler for these things to come up, leading to reduction of, and that's how we link it. I mean, it's not making sustainable energy as a centerpiece, but dal as the centerpiece. Yeah.
That's very fascinating. And you have some very interesting ideas around sustainability and the kind of work that you're doing for social impact. Was there a leader who inspired you to start this journey?
Yes, I mean, most of my, look at day to day, it's a street vendor, always, number one, right? Irrespective whether there is strikes, calamity, he or she will come. I mean, for example, so many businesses going out of it, right? How many times have you ever heard, kal se wo nahi aane wali hai, street vending band ho gaya, right? How have they survived for years? And you look at Bangalore alone, a street vendor who collects vegetable in Madiwala and goes across and sells. In the evening at 5 or 7 o'clock, she has to decide the pricing of the vegetables because she has no fridge at home, right? And after all that, she has to pay to the moneylender, pay for the rental of the cart, and then after that also then feed her 3 kids, right? For 20 years she makes it running. How? Right? They are system thinkers. They are solution providers. Irrespective of, they're not sitting here and complaining, nor they talk about 80 hours of work per week or 100 hours of work per week, right? They're not. How many street vendors do you think will say, I'm overworked, I need to go for a movie?
Right. None of them.
It's how do you learn from them is the critical factor.
That's, it got me thinking. At times, with privilege, we also get a lot of sense of relaxation,
Right.
which, as you mentioned, the street vendors do not get. And I think what keeps them going is the need for taking care of their family. And with privilege, I think we lose that sense at some point.
Yeah, and it's
maybe.
also, it's one, also the hypocrisy, right? Hypocrisy of when you have a construction workers who are working, right? And then next to it, you have a gym which says that you're going to pay, you're going to be paid 100 rupees for every half a kg you lose. If a street vendor or a construction worker reads that, what does it mean? You're going to get paid for losing weight. And that is where I think we are muddled in our thought process of development and as a society, as we are going apart in our thinking process, and we are using sustainable energy as a way to bridge that gap. Yeah.
Building on that one point, as you mentioned, we look at a street vendor and you get inspired. Can you mention some specific leadership traits that you see in a street vendor?
It's solution. See, for example, when we started looking at putting up solar lights way back in 94, 95, right? And you think solar lights, yeah, light hai, right? What's the big deal about a light, right? So we went to these in Bangalore and as well as in Mangalore, a banana vendor came and straight off said, boss, मेरे को yellow light चाहिए, because under yellow light the spots in a banana are not visible. A tomato vendor says मेरे को white light चाहिए, because under a white light the tomato is brighter. The thinking of a solution from a need base is that's a systems level thinking. Right. And that is where the leadership also solution. He's not thinking solar expensive, light expensive. And even when you go to the chart vendors, right? उनको पूछो कि light तो चाहिए, sir, but light ऐसा चाहिए कि when I am delivering the chart, the light should be there. उनको dirty vessels नहीं देखना चाहिए. They should not be seeing, right? Those are all solutions. They never come कि नहीं चाहिए or I don't want it or it's expensive. Always come up with, the mark of a leadership is always about solutions, right? You might complain 20, 30, 40, 50 times, but what is the solution to take this next step forward is what you want.
I totally resonate with that thought. I think a leader should have that solution-oriented mindset.
Yeah.
Right. Moving on to my next segment, we also look at a lot of different stakeholders working together to work for an end goal. At ShikshaLokam, we believe in the idea of collective action. How do you look at collective action supporting the promotion of education equity or social impact in any other way as well? See,
in any part of a collaboration, right? See, what happens is, we in Selco don't look at institutions per se. We look at the champions in institutions. At end of the day, it's a human relationship between 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. It's very romantic to say that it has to be institutionalized. If that was the case, the world today would not be what it is in the last 2 weeks, right? It's all dependent on 1 person, 2 persons. So when we look at 6, 7 stakeholders have to come together for a particular solution, whether it's education or sustainability or health, we look at who are the champions in that. What is the vested interest of those champions? Vested doesn't mean negative.
Right.
And can we actually start working with those champions rather than saying that we're going to have an MOU with the 6 and we're going to have a board meeting, etc. Those things don't work. How can individuals in those organizations take ownership? Because there's an interest of making that happen. Once that is done, then start doing the MOUs. But we start with the MOUs, right? And that is where the champions are very, very critical for collaboration to happen.
I couldn't agree more. And also, even after doing the MOUs, we still need champions to actually implement the program.
Absolutely.
Right, right. We'll do a little fun segment now.
Sure.
We'll go back to your school days. Which is that one fond memory of your school days that you cherish till date?
I think I would cherish, because I was not a good student at all in school. And if I hated those classes, then I would be very happy if teacher threw me out for a certain thing. So if standing outside the class was more fun than inside the class, which I miss most of the time, because that's where I did most of my learning, right? When two other friends of mine were also thrown out equally. And that's when you can actually talk of something that was more meaningful than inside the class, I would say right now. But I'm not going to tell it to my kids or anybody else's kids to do that. But yeah, those are times when you miss a lot. Yeah.
I agree.
Of innocence, yes.
I agree. It was fun being outside the class.
Exactly. Yeah.
Was there a subject that you did not like?
Biology was one thing I never. Hindi.
Makes sense. Yeah. Now we have some jars here. Can you pick? There are the segments that are mentioned here, the topics. Can you pick a chit and read out the question for us?
Oh, sure. I can do the offbeat. What's the best advice you have ever received? The best advice I have ever received is if you think you want to do something, don't listen to others. Jump into the well and then see. That's the best advice. The other advice, I don't know whether I can say that on camera, is, but I'm still on camera. The question is, stick to where a government official said that you will succeed as long as we don't interfere with you. and it was, I mean, but for me, the government has been critical in scale up. But coming back to the first advice was that jump into the well. Don't ask too many people, should I do this, should I do that? First, jump into the well, find it out. And especially I tell to youngsters who are between 20 to 30, when you don't have much responsibilities in life, jump. Don't ask too many people.
And who gave you this advice?
This was a Chief Secretary of Karnataka.
Yes, interesting. All right. We will also now look at your hope for the future. One in context of children, other in context of world as a whole.
Hope. I think if I look at the present younger generation, when people complain about younger generation being on cell phones, on everything else, we would have done the same thing had it been that time, right? It's a. I mean, if Aristotle said many centuries ago, he said what is happening to the youth. So that this question will always be the issue with our generation, or always the previous older generation, is not able to embrace that this is what the movements happen and this is how it is. We always complain how the younger generation is, but the younger generation is much more adaptive to what inclusivity means, in terms of, provided the right tools are given, the inclusivity thinking will come in much faster than the older generations, which have baggages of multiple silos in their minds, one way or the other. And in the world, what's happening today is, as long as today we start having the youth of Indonesia, youth of India, and youth of Africa and youth of America actually start working together on projects, that's the only way. And I think with the internet and with the knowledge that gets shared, I mean, with the world getting smaller and the travel, I have more hope. Though what's happening today, I think it's very short term. But as the youths become much more interactive, I have much more hope for the world in terms of inclusivity.
And I think it's a very important hope to keep right now,
Absolutely.
Especially looking at what's happening around us.
And it'll happen. I mean, as long as the youth start focusing on working together, but without and having cross boundaries, it'll happen. I'm much more hopeful of that. Yeah.
I really hope that this happens.
No, yeah, it should. It will.
That's a beautiful thought. So thank you for joining us here today. It was Lovely talking to you.
Same here. Thanks, ma'am. Thanks for inviting. Yeah.
Thank you to our audience for tuning in. Stay connected, keep the dialogue going. See you in the next episode of Up Close and Personal Season 2.